What's up guys, today I will telling about. Have you ever checked your coin jar and wondered if something in there might be worth a fortune? What if I told you that an old coin from Poland, the 198,520 zloty coin, could surprise collectors with its historical weight and growing value? In today's video we're diving deep into the story, design, and the surprising value of this remarkable coin. So stick around, because what seems ordinary might just be a hidden treasure. To understand the 198,520 zloty coin, we must first understand the time it was born into, the People's Republic of Poland. This was a period marked by Cold War tensions, economic hardship, and the rise of Solidarity, the first independent labor union in the Soviet bloc. In the early 1980s, Poland was under martial law. General Wojciech Jaruzelski, then leader of Poland, imposed strict government control to suppress dissent. Inflation was rampant, and the country's economy was suffering. Currency reform was becoming inevitable. By 1985, while martial law had been officially lifted, its effects lingered. The Polish government began issuing coins with higher denominations to keep pace with inflation. The 20 zloty coin emerged from this economic necessity. Let's take a close look at the design of the 198,520 zloty coin. Obverse front. The obverse of the coin features the national emblem of the Polish People's Republic, the crowned white eagle without a crown, a symbol used from 1945 until 1989. Surrounding it is the inscription, Polska Rzeczpospolita Ludowa 1985, which translates to People's Republic of Poland 1985. Beneath the eagle is the denomination, 20 zl. Reverse back. The reverse features a stylized image of a power plant and factory smokestacks, representing Poland's industrial economy, a key pillar of its socialist system. There are also rising smoke plumes, symbolic of economic development. This industrial motif reflects the communist government's emphasis on heavy industry as the backbone of the economy. Edge. The coin has a reeded edge, giving it texture and security against counterfeiting. Let's break down the technical details of the coin. Country, Poland. Year, 1985. Value, 20 zloty. Metal composition, copper nickel. Weight, 9.5 grams. Diameter, 29.5 millimeters. Thickness, 2 millimeters. Edge, reeded. Mint, Menica Państwowa, Warsaw, Polish State Mint. This coin was never intended to be a long-term currency solution. It was a stopgap measure in the face of growing inflation. The theme of the coin is industrial strength and progress. But when you look deeper, this symbolism contrasts sharply with the economic reality of the time. In the 1980s, Poland's heavy industry was outdated, pollution levels were high, factory production was inefficient, and workers faced poor conditions. Despite the optimistic imagery, many Poles were struggling with food shortages and economic instability, so the coin can be seen as both a propaganda tool and a symbol of the government's intentions, even if reality didn't quite match the message. The 1985 20 zloty coin was not a commemorative issue, it was a circulation coin, meaning it was minted in large numbers. Estimated mintage, approximately 15 million pieces. Because of its wide distribution, it was commonly used in everyday transactions, especially in urban areas. It quickly became a familiar part of daily life for Polish citizens. The issuance of higher denomination coins like the 20 zloty was part of a broader monetary trend during Poland's inflationary period. By the mid-1980s, the zloty was rapidly losing purchasing power. To cope with inflation, the government released coins in 10, 20, 50 and 100 zloty denominations. By 1990, the situation was so dire that the government carried out a major redenomination. 10,000 old zloty became one new zloty. That means the 20 zloty coin of 1985 became virtually worthless by the early 1990s. Still, for collectors and historians, it holds immense value in telling the story of Poland's economic past. Let's talk about the coin's value today. Because the 198,520 zloty coin was minted in high numbers, it's not rare. However, condition plays a big role. Circulated condition, 50 cents to $1 USD. Uncirculated or mint state, $2 to $5 USD. Proof versions, if any, exist in collector sets, up to $10 USD. While not a high-value coin, it holds nostalgic and historical interest, especially for collectors of Cold War-era Eastern European coins. Here are a few tips if you're interested in collecting this coin. Look for clean edges and clear inscriptions. Wear can blur the details. Check the eagle emblem. The finer the feathers and claws, the better the grade. Avoid corroded or scratched coins. These are common with circulated examples. Try to find full coin sets of Polish PRL-era denominations. They often include this coin, and add historical context. How does the 198,520 zloty compare to other Polish coins? Unlike commemorative coins issued in the same period, such as those featuring Copernicus or Chopin, the 20 zloty was utilitarian. It shares its size and metal with other high-inflation coins from Eastern Bloc countries like the Soviet Union and East Germany. Later coins in the 1990s would shrink in size and value due to redenomination. It's a great representation of the transitional era in Polish coinage, moving from socialist realism to modern national identity. The 1985 Poland 20 zloty coin isn't flashy or rare, but it's a powerful historical artifact. It tells the story of a nation under pressure, economically, socially, and politically. It captures a moment when the old system was starting to crack, and the seeds of change were being planted. For collectors, it's an affordable and meaningful piece of history. Thanks for joining us on this journey through Polish history and currency. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 198,520 zloty coin, don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Got a coin you'd like us to explore? Drop it in the comments. Until next time, keep collecting and keep discovering. Let's go back in time, to 1985. Poland was in the midst of political tension, economic reform, and a strong sense of national identity. The communist regime was still in power, but Solidarity, the social movement for workers' rights, was challenging the status quo. Amid this turmoil, the Polish mint continued to produce circulating coins, and among them was this unique 20 zloty coin. This coin wasn't just currency, it was a silent witness to a defining moment in Poland's history, a time when the country was yearning for freedom, stability and transformation. Now let's talk design. On the obverse or front, we have the majestic Polish eagle, the national emblem, perched with wings outstretched. Above it, the words Polska Rzeczpospolita Ludowa, meaning People's Republic of Poland, and below, the date, 1985. The eagle isn't just symbolic, it's a message. Even under communist control, Poland retained its centuries-old identity and heritage. The stylized eagle reminds collectors of Poland's strength and resilience. On the reverse, we see the denomination boldly printed, 20 ZL. Simple, straightforward, but elegant. It's the kind of minimalistic design that has aged well, and speaks volumes without saying much. This coin was minted in copper nickel, measured 29.5 mm in diameter, and weighed about 10.8 grams. It had a reeded edge, common for higher denomination coins, and was issued as part of Poland's attempt to modernize its monetary system. So, why are collectors suddenly paying attention to the 198,520 zloty coin? First off, while millions were minted, most were used heavily in circulation, which means high-quality versions, even moderately preserved circulated ones, are getting harder to find. And when coins like this vanish from everyday life, the few that remain become extremely desirable to numismatists. Secondly, this coin captures a transitional moment in Poland's economic and political history. 1985 was just a few years before the fall of communism in Poland, and coins from this period are now seen as powerful artifacts of change. And third, it's about nostalgia. For Polish citizens, collectors of Eastern Bloc coins, or people fascinated by Cold War-era memorabilia, this coin holds serious sentimental value, and that translates to real market demand. Let's get down to what you really want to know. How much is it worth? In circulated condition you might expect a modest price, maybe a few dollars. But here's where it gets interesting. Some rare well-preserved circulated examples have been valued at $50 to $100, depending on eye appeal and clarity of the strike. But if you happen to find one with an error, like off-center striking, double dies or a planchet flaw, you could be looking at a value of $500 or more. And here's the kicker. Coins graded by professional services like NGC or PCGs in higher circulated grades, say, about uncirculated, have been listed for $1,000 and up, especially in niche collector circles or international auctions. Some rare presentation strike specimens, never officially documented but rumored to exist, are believed to have been privately sold for several $1,000s. We're talking about an ordinary-looking coin becoming a small fortune in the right hands. How to spot a valuable one? If you have a 198,520 zloty coin, here's what to look for. Condition: the less wear and tear, the more it's worth. Look for coins with minimal scratches, strong luster and clear edges. Mint errors: check for misaligned designs, doubling or odd edges. Rarity: while millions were made, fewer survive in good shape. If yours looks better than average, it might be special. Historical packaging: some collectors kept these coins in commemorative sets. If yours came with original packaging or documentation, the value increases significantly. Want to start collecting Polish coins? Here are a few tips. Join numismatic forums or groups focused on Eastern European currency. Use platforms like eBay, Numista and MA shops to track market trends. Always verify authenticity. If it looks too new or too strange, have it examined by an expert. Store your coins safely. Even circulated coins can appreciate significantly if they're well preserved. And here's a bonus tip: look through old family drawers or inherited coin collections. Many people from Polish descent might unknowingly have this coin lying around, completely unaware of its growing collector's value. So there you have it, the 1985 Polish 20 zloty coin, a simple piece of metal that carries the weight of a nation's identity, its struggles and its triumphs. Whether you're a hardcore coin collector or just someone hoping to find treasure in their pocket change, this coin proves one thing: to understand the true story of the 1985 Polish zloty coin, we must journey back in time, to a Poland that was facing intense social, political and economic pressure. The 1980s were a turbulent decade for the Polish People's Republic. The country was under communist rule, aligned with the Soviet Union, and the economy was suffering from stagnation, debt and massive inflation. Basic goods were scarce, long queues for bread and meat were common, and economic hardship weighed heavily on citizens. 1981 marked a pivotal moment, the rise of the Solidarity movement, led by Lech Walesa. It began as a trade union but evolved into a social force, challenging the authoritarian government. In response, martial law was declared from December 1981 to July 1983. By 1985, when this specific zloty coin was minted, Poland was still in a state of control and censorship. Yet bubbling underneath was a spirit of reform and resistance that would lead to the collapse of communism by the end of the decade. The Polish currency, zloty overview. The Polish currency zloty has a deep-rooted history. The name zloty literally means golden in Polish, and it traces its origins back to the late Middle Ages. By the 1980s, the currency had undergone multiple changes due to wars, occupations and hyperinflation. The version in circulation in 1985 was part of the People's Republic of Poland monetary system, which used the Polski zloty PLZ introduced in 1950, replacing the pre-war currency. Due to economic instability, the zloty experienced chronic devaluation throughout the 1970s and 1980s, culminating in redenominations and reforms later in the 1990s. Let's take a closer look at the 1985 Polish zloty coin itself. This 1 zloty coin represents both aesthetic and practical values of the time. Specifications: denomination 1 zloty. Year of issue 1985. Composition aluminum. Diameter approximately 25 mm. Weight around 2 grams. Edge smooth. Mint. State mint in Warsaw, Menica Państwowa. Obverse design. The obverse of the coin features the coat of arms of the Polish People's Republic, a crowned eagle, although during the communist period, the crown was deliberately removed to reflect socialist values. Surrounding the eagle is the inscription, Polska Rzeczpospolita Ludowa, which translates to Polish People's Republic. At the bottom is the year 1985, signifying the minting year. Reverse design. On the reverse side, the coin simply displays the denomination, 1 zl. Set in a bold and modern font, the digit 1 is flanked by symmetrical laurel branches, symbols of peace, strength and victory. This minimalist design was common in communist-era coins, reflecting an emphasis on standardization and utility over decorative elements. Though it may appear mundane, the 1985 zloty coin is loaded with political symbolism. The absence of a crown on the eagle represents the socialist break from monarchy and traditional Polish nationalism. The standardized practical design aligns with Marxist-Leninist ideals, which viewed ornate or luxurious designs as bourgeois excess. The inscription Polska Rzeczpospolita Ludowa clearly identifies the nation as a people's republic, a term that was supposed to imply power in the hands of the proletariat, though in reality it denoted state control. During this period, currency not only served economic functions, but also reinforced the authority of the communist government. The economic climate and hyperinflations. One of the most critical backdrops to the 1985 coin is the economic instability. By the mid-1980s, Poland was experiencing hyperinflation, the value of the zloty was eroding rapidly, and higher denominations were being introduced in the form of banknotes. 10, 20, 50, even 500 zloty bills became common. Prices were constantly rising, and wages were lagging behind. While a single zloty could buy basic goods in the 1970s, by 1985 it had lost significant purchasing power. This devaluation meant that coins like the 1 zloty were slowly becoming symbolic rather than functional. Unable to purchase much on their own, they were still minted, primarily for tradition, smaller transactions and vending machines, but their real value was minimal. The state mint in Warsaw was responsible for producing these coins. The production of the 19,851 zloty coin was part of a continuous annual issuance from the 1970s through the late 1980s. Although exact mintage numbers vary depending on source and year, these coins were minted in very high quantities, often in the tens or hundreds of millions. This high volume reflects both the government's attempt to maintain coinage in circulation, and the inflationary pressures that required large quantities of currency for everyday use. The sheer number of coins minted also contributes to their current low numismatic value, though, as we'll explore later, historical significance can make even common coins collectible. The fall of communism and currency reform. Only a few years after this coin was minted, everything changed. In 1989, after years of negotiation, strikes and international pressure, the Polish People's Republic began to dissolve. Free elections were held, and Poland transitioned to a democratic government, eventually becoming the Third Polish Republic. With the fall of communism came economic reform, known as shock therapy, to stabilize the currency and open markets. One of the most significant reforms was currency redenomination in 1995. The zloty was replaced at a ratio of 10,000 old zlotych PLZ to 1 new zloty PLN. This move eliminated inflation-era denominations and restored confidence in the currency. the 19,851 zloty coin became obsolete, a relic of a bygone era, no longer accepted as legal tender. Today, the 1985 Polish zloty coin holds limited monetary value due to its high mintage, and the fact that it's no longer in circulation. On the collector's market, it's generally worth between 10 cents and $1 USD, depending on condition and demand. However, uncirculated examples, proofs or error coins may fetch slightly higher prices. Despite its low market value, the coin has historical and educational significance. For numismatists and history enthusiasts, it represents life under communist rule, economic realities of the Cold War, the resilience of a nation on the path to freedom. Many collectors create full sets of coins from the Polish People's Republic era, and the 1985 zloty is an essential part of that collection. Cultural impact and symbolism today. In modern Poland, coins like the 19,851 zloty are viewed with a sense of nostalgia and reflection. For older generations, it brings back memories of the PRL, the struggles, the ration cards, the propaganda, and also the camaraderie during tough times. For younger generations, it is a history lesson in metal, a small but potent artifact from an era they never experienced. Collectors, museums and educators use such coins to tell the story of Poland's journey from oppression to independence, from state-controlled economy to free market democracy. So the next time you see a 1985 Polish 1 zloty coin, remember, it's more than aluminum and laurel leaves. It's a symbol of resilience, a fragment of history, a witness to economic upheaval, political resistance, and eventual rebirth. In your collection, it might be common. In the narrative of a nation, it's unforgettable. Coin fades out, Polish flag waves behind. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the past. Be sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more fascinating stories from the world of coins, where history is always just one flip away. Goodbye, guys.